Dred Scott was an enslaved African-American man in the United States who unsuccessfully sued for his freedom and that of his wife and their 2 daughters in the Dred Scott v. Sanford case of 1857, popularly known as the Dred Scott case. Scott claimed that he and his wife should be granted their freedom because they had lived in Illinois and the Wisconsin Territory for 4 years, where slavery was illegal, and their laws said that slaveholders gave up their rights to slaves if they stayed for an extended period. In a landmark case, the United States Supreme Court decided 7-2 against Scott, finding that neither he nor any other person of African ancestry could claim citizenship in the United States, and therefore Scott could not bring suit in federal court under diversity of citizenship rules. Moreover, Scott's temporary residence outside Missouri did not bring about his emancipation under the Missouri Compromise, as the court ruled this to have been unconstitutional, as it would improperly deprive Scott's owner of his legal property. While Chief Justice Roger B. Taney had hoped to settle issues related to slavery and congressional authority by this decision, it aroused public outrage, deepened sectional tensions between the northern and southern states, and hastened the eventual explosion of their differences into the American Civil War. President Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, and the post-Civil War Reconstruction Amendments, the 13th, 14th and 15th Amendments, nullified the decision. The Scotts were manumitted by a private arrangement in May 1857. Dred Scott died of tuberculosis a year later. Dred Scott was born into slavery c. 1799 in Southampton County, Virginia. It is not clear whether Dred was his given name or a shortened form of Etheldred. In 1818, Dred was taken by Peter Blow and his family, with their 5 other slaves, to Alabama, where the family ran an unsuccessful farm in a location near Huntsville. This site is now occupied by Oakwood University. The Blows gave up farming in 1830 and moved to St. Louis, Missouri, where they ran a boarding house. 5. Dred Scott was sold to Dr. John Emerson, a surgeon serving in the United States Army, who planned to move to Rock Island, Illinois. After Scott learned this, he attempted to run away. His decision to do so was spurred by a distaste he had developed for Emerson. Scott was temporarily successful in his escape as he, much like many other runaway slaves during this time period, never tried to distance his pursuers, but dodged around among his fellow slaves as long as possible. Eventually, he was captured in the Lucas swamps of Missouri and taken back. Blow died in 1832, and historians debate whether Scott was sold to Emerson before or after Blow's death. Some believe that Scott was sold in 1831, while others point to a number of slaves in Blow's estate who were sold to Emerson after Blow's death, including one with a name given as Sam, who may be the same person as Scott. As an Army officer, Emerson moved frequently, taking Scott with him to each new Army posting. In 1836, Emerson and Scott went to Fort Armstrong, in the Free State of Illinois. In 1837, Emerson took Scott to Fort Snelling, in what is now the state of Minnesota and was then in the Free Territory of Wisconsin. There, Scott met and married Harriet Robinson, a slave owned by Lawrence Taliaferro. The marriage was formalized in a civil ceremony presided over by Taliaferro, who was a justice of the peace. Since slave marriages had no legal sanction, supporters of Scott later noted that this ceremony was evidence that Scott was being treated as a free man. But Taliaferro transferred ownership of Harriet to Emerson, who treated the Scotts as his slaves. Emerson moved to Jefferson Barracks in 1837, leaving the Scott family behind in Wisconsin and leasing them out to other officers. In February 1838, Emerson met and married Eliza Irene Sanford at Fort Jessup in Louisiana, whereupon he sent for the Scotts to join him. While on a steamboat on the Mississippi River, between the Free State of Illinois and the Iowa District of Wisconsin Territory, Harriet Scott gave birth to their first child, whom they named Eliza after their mistress. They later had a daughter, Lizzie. They later had 2 sons, but neither survived past infancy. The Emersons and Scotts returned to Missouri, a slave state, in 1840. In 1842, Emerson left the Army. After he died in the Iowa Territory in 1843, his widow Irene inherited his estate, including the Scotts. For 3 years after Emerson's death, she continued to lease out the Scotts as hired slaves. In 1846, Scott attempted to purchase his and his family's freedom, offering $300, about $8,000 in current value. Irene Emerson refused his offer. Scott and his wife separately filed freedom suits to try to gain their freedom. The cases were later combined by the courts. Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe.